When that credit card terminal beeped with the words "transaction declined," I saw my husband's world crumble in an instant. He had no idea that the black card he was showing off in front of his mistress was just a useless piece of plastic. I had cut off his financial lifeline right before he could utter the word paid. Hello everyone! Welcome back to our channel, True Life Diaries. Before we get into this emotionally draining story, make sure you guys have hit the subscribe button and turned on the notification bell so you do not miss our other inspiring stories. I pray that all of you are always blessed with health, abundant wealth, and kept far away from betrayal. Oh, let us do a quick roll call. What city are you tuning in from? Write it down in the comments section. All right, let us continue. The morning sun crept softly through the Italian silk curtains in the dining room of Robert's luxury estate in Greenwich, Connecticut. The light fell upon the polished Carrara marble table, creating long shadows that made the room feel peaceful yet harboring something unspoken. The atmosphere was completely silent, broken only by the clink of a silver spoon touching Claire's Lennox fine-bone china plate. At the end of the table, Robert sat staring endlessly at his phone. His thumbs moved rapidly across the screen while he occasionally sipped the black coffee with no sugar that Claire brewed to perfect proportions every single morning. Claire herself sat quietly in a neat, elegant cashmere loungewear set. Yet, beneath her calm demeanor, her eyes were secretly observing the two people in front of her. This morning felt different. The atmosphere in the room seemed tense, as if a secret was being hidden. Shortly after, the sound of footsteps coming down the spiral staircase echoed. Linda, Claire's mother-in-law, descended in high heels that clicked arrogantly against the granite floor. Claire frowned slightly. Usually, Linda only wore house slippers when heading to her routine Sunday church group, but this morning, her appearance was drastically different. She wore a striking emerald green designer suit paired with oversized, sparkling sunglasses. An expensive Hermes leather bag was slung over her arm, while the strong scent of heavy Tom Ford perfume filled the room. Claire, I am heading out. There is a grand charity brunch downtown today. I might be home a bit late this afternoon because there is a networking event with the other ladies, Linda said, without truly looking at her daughter-in-law. Claire set her spoon down slowly. A charity brunch downtown, Mom? If so, I will have the corporate driver take you. The company SUV happens to be available. You do not need to. No need, Linda cut in quickly. I already ordered an Uber Black. There is no need to bother your office. Robert suddenly cleared his throat, trying to break the ice. Yes, honey, let Mom be independent. I also need to leave right now. There is a textile development project in Boston that I have to inspect. I might stay there overnight. He stood up and gave Claire a quick peck on the forehead. A kiss that used to feel warm now felt bland and mechanical. Claire merely offered a thin smile. As the owner of Claire's Custom Fabrics, a massive textile empire she built from the ground up, Claire was used to reading people's body language. She knew when someone was being honest and when they were hiding something. And this morning, Robert and Linda felt like a business contract full of lies. As Linda was about to walk out, she opened her bag to grab her phone. Because she was in such a rush, a glossy piece of paper slipped out without her noticing. The paper fluttered slowly and landed right near Claire's feet. Linda kept walking out toward her, waiting Uber. Robert also left in his car. The room fell silent once more. Claire bent down and picked up the paper. Her eyebrows furrowed instantly. It was not a charity program schedule, nor a prayer pamphlet, but an exclusive brochure from Manhattan Elite Motors. On the cover was a bright red convertible sports car with a staggering price tag. When Claire flipped the brochure over, her breath caught in her throat. In the top right corner was a handwritten note she knew entirely too well. It was Robert's handwriting. 30% down payment. $75,000. Put the rest on the primary debit card under Paige's name. Claire's blood felt like it had stopped flowing. Paige, she whispered. For their 5 years of marriage, Claire had indeed given Robert access to the company's primary corporate card because he held the position of chief operating officer. She trusted her husband completely. However, a transaction of that magnitude was never discussed in any board meeting or at home. Claire's stomach churned, not from illness, but from the stench of betrayal that now felt sharper than Linda's expensive perfume. She stared back at the brochure. The dealership's address was written clearly: Manhattan Elite Motors. Opens at 9:00 a.m. Claire glanced at the wall clock. 8:15 a.m. There was still time. Mom is going to a charity brunch. Robert is going to Boston, she muttered coldly. All right, let us see where you two are actually going. Claire did not cry. Tears are only deserved for honorable losses, not for betrayal. She went upstairs to her home office. Her loungewear was replaced with a sharp black Tom Ford power suit. She turned on her laptop and opened her company's corporate banking system. The game had just begun. Today, Claire decided on one thing. If they were truly planning to betray her, she would make sure they learned one simple lesson they would never forget. Starting today, everyone had to pay for themselves. Claire walked to the garage with a steady stride, but she did not choose her own luxury SUV. Instead, she took an old Ford sedan belonging to her trusted housekeeper, which was parked at the house to be serviced. She needed a disguise. Wearing large, dark sunglasses and a mask covering her face, Claire drove the car herself toward Manhattan. Throughout the drive, her mind raced wildly. The name Paige kept echoing in her head like a broken record. Who was this woman that made Robert feel entitled to use hundreds of thousands of dollars from the corporate accounts that Claire had built with hard work and sacrifice? At 9:15 a.m., she arrived in front of Manhattan Elite Motors. Claire parked her car a bit further away, hiding behind a row of large decorative planters on the sidewalk. From behind the car window, her sharp eyes immediately caught a sight that made her chest feel crushed. The Uber Black that had carried her mother-in-law stopped right in front of the dealership's lobby. Shortly after, Robert's car, which should have been on the highway to Boston, pulled up and parked next to the entrance. Claire held her breath as Robert stepped out of the car. However, he was not alone. He walked around the vehicle and opened the door for a young woman. The woman was beautiful and much younger than Claire. Her appearance contrasted with Claire's elegant style. She wore a tight, nude-colored mini dress that hugged her figure, especially her slightly bulging belly. Claire closed her eyes for a second. The reality hit her even harder. The woman was pregnant. Linda, her mother-in-law, greeted them with a wide smile. A smile Claire had never received during her 5 years as a daughter-in-law. Linda even hugged Paige and rubbed her belly affectionately, as if this woman was the daughter-in-law she had always dreamed of. "You made it, sweetie. Let us go inside. I do not want my grandchild getting too hot out here." Linda's voice could be heard faintly as Claire quietly approached the dealership's glass doors. Claire entered through a side door normally used by employees. She knew the owner of the dealership, but gave a hand signal to the staff so they would not greet her. She stood behind a massive pillar decorated with artificial plants. The position gave her a clear view of the exclusive VIP lounge. There, Robert sat casually on a white leather sofa, flanked by Linda and Paige. A highly polite salesperson served them coffee and luxury car catalogs. "So, which one does Miss Paige prefer? The Spider or the Coupe?" the salesperson asked warmly. Paige let out a spoiled laugh. "I love that bright red one. When I pull up to the Hamptons parties, all my friends will instantly know who has arrived." Linda chimed in, patting Paige's hand. "Just get the most expensive one. Robert is a big boss. Do not hold back if you want to be stylish. I also want to be taken for rides in a convertible." Claire felt her chest tighten. It was not out of jealousy. That feeling had already morphed into sheer disgust. It was from seeing the betrayal committed by the very people living off the fruits of her labor. "Robert, can I get this one?" Paige asked sweetly, pointing to the red roadster priced at $250,000. Robert smiled and stroked her hair. "Of course. Consider it a gift because you have been so patient waiting for the right time to announce our relationship," Linda even added with a cynical tone. She stated she had long been bored of seeing Claire, whom she considered too stiff and overly self-righteous at home. Those words pierced Claire's ears. All this time, she maintained a graceful attitude, dressed modestly, and even managed the family's diet to keep them healthy. Yet, in their eyes, all of that was just sickening strictness. Claire gripped her phone tightly. She watched Robert pull out a heavy black card with a gold logo. It was her private banking corporate card, linked directly to the company's reserve funds. "I will pay the $75,000 down payment right now with this card," Robert said confidently to the salesperson. Claire took a deep breath. She would not confront them just yet. She wanted them to taste the illusion of possessing that luxury for just a moment before it all came crashing down. Claire opened the mobile banking app on her phone and navigated to the security menu. Her eyes remained locked on Robert, who was laughing with Paige while waiting for the credit card terminal to be brought to the table. With a low but icy voice, Claire whispered, "Go ahead and enjoy your last 5 minutes of fake luxury." The salesperson returned with hurried steps, carrying the POS terminal on a small silver tray, treating it as if it were incredibly precious. Behind him, 2 other staff members carried gold-colored contract folders. Robert immediately straightened his posture and adjusted the Rolex watch on his wrist. a birthday gift from Claire. He then looked at Paige with a proud expression, as if wanting to show just how incredible he was. Go ahead, Mr. Robert. The amount has been entered. $75,000 for the down payment on the red roadster, the salesperson said enthusiastically. From behind the pillar, Claire stared at her phone screen. The status of that debit card was still active with a massive transaction limit. Without hesitation, she opened the security settings and selected Permanent Block. A notification popped up. Are you sure you want to block this card? At that exact moment, Robert picked up the black card from the table. Paige had even readied her phone to record the historic moment. Linda stood beside him with a face full of victory. Click. Claire hit confirm right as Robert inserted the card into the machine. Robert typed in his PIN with absolute confidence. The machine began processing the transaction. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. A loud beep shattered the quietness of the lounge. The machine's screen flashed the words, "Transaction declined." Robert's smile froze instantly. Ah, maybe the signal is dropping. Try it again, he said quickly, trying to look relaxed. The salesperson nodded and tried once more. Robert entered his PIN again. Paige began lowering her phone while Linda looked anxious. This time, the screen showed a different message. Card blocked. Retain card. What the hell is this? Robert snapped, now genuinely panicking. Do not use a broken machine. Do you know who I am? I am the chief operating officer of the largest textile corporation in this city. The salesperson now looked deeply uncomfortable. I am sorry, sir. But the system says this card has been permanently blocked by the account owner. Paige immediately scowled. Robert, this is humiliating. You said you were giving me a surprise, Linda yelled in his defense. My son is rich. It has to be your machine that is broken. Behind the pillar, Claire took a deep breath. It was time to step out. She took off her dark sunglasses and mask, then walked calmly toward them. The click of her high heels on the marble floor echoed loudly. The card is not broken, Robert, and the machine is perfectly fine. Claire's calm voice instantly turned the room dead silent. The three of them flinched. Robert turned around slowly, his face turning pale green. Claire? Why are you here? He stammered. Claire did not answer immediately. She looked at Robert, then at Linda, and then at Paige. She even stared for a moment at the woman's belly, until Paige took a step back. Mom said earlier she was going to a grand charity brunch downtown, Claire said softly to Linda. I had no idea the charity brunch was being held at a luxury car dealership. Linda immediately went on the offensive. How dare you stalk me? We are here on business, Claire smiled thinly. What kind of business requires my husband to buy a sports car for a woman who is not even an employee at my company? She then shifted her gaze to Paige. You are pretty, but your taste is way too expensive for a man who is actually just a staff member I gave a fancy title to. Watch your mouth, Robert yelled, though he did not dare step any closer. Claire picked up the black card resting on the table. This card was declined because the actual owner cut off the funding. Her voice remained calm but razor sharp. Starting today, there is no more shopping allowance, no more funding your lifestyle, and certainly no red car for your secret mistress. She then turned to the salesperson. Cancel the transaction. This man does not have a dime on this card. He is just using my account. Paige's face completely changed. She glared at Robert with sheer anger. Robert, so you have been lying this whole time? You said the company was yours. Robert could not formulate an answer. He just looked down. Meanwhile, everyone else in the dealership was now staring at him with disdain. The atmosphere, which had just been filled with Robert's yelling, suddenly turned into an oppressive silence. Everyone in the room could only stare speechlessly. Robert stood rigidly in place. The hand that had arrogantly held the black card just moments ago now hung limply at his side. Next to him, Paige slowly released her grip on Robert's arm. The expression on her face changed drastically, from sweet and spoiled to completely disgusted. So none of this belongs to you, Robert? Paige asked, her voice trembling from embarrassment. The bags you bought me, the apartment I live in, even the promise of this car. Everything actually belongs to your wife? Robert looked panicked. Paige, listen to me. I love you. This is not what you think. He tried to reach for Paige's hand, but the woman forcefully swatted his hand away. Claire took a step forward until she was standing right in front of them. Her gaze was calm yet piercing. She is right, Paige, Claire stated coldly. Robert owns absolutely nothing. Even the silk shirt he is wearing and the Rolex on his wrist are items bought with company money. Those words made several bystanders start whispering quietly. Claire then turned to Linda, her mother-in-law, who was now standing there with a face red from suppressed rage. "And you, Mom," Claire continued, "what kind of church group teaches a mother to bless her son's infidelity, and even enjoy the financial perks of it?" Claire's eyes fell upon the gold necklace hanging around Linda's neck. "Are you not ashamed to wear jewelry bought from the hard work of the woman you call overly strict?" "Claire, you have no respect. I am your mother-in-law," she screamed. "Whatever Robert has belongs to me too. And Robert is your husband. Your wealth is his wealth." Claire smiled faintly, a smile that only made the room feel colder. "That is your biggest mistake, Mom," she answered calmly. "There is one thing you forgot." She stared at Robert for a second before continuing. "Before we got married, Robert signed a prenuptial agreement. In fact, that idea came from you, because you were so terrified I was going to steal Robert's supposedly massive fortune." A few people listening started exchanging glances. "Now," Claire continued, "that agreement is exactly what protects me. It means neither of you has the right to take a single cent of my wealth." Robert's face grew even paler hearing those words. Claire then turned toward a security guard standing not too far away. "Sir, please escort them out," she said with a quiet but commanding voice. "This man is no longer part of my company." She paused before delivering the final sentence that made Robert hang his head even lower. "And he certainly does not have the ability to pay for even a single bolt on a car in this place." Robert's destruction did not stop at the dealership. When they reached the parking lot, Robert tried to start his luxury company SUV, but the engine refused to turn over. The remote immobilizer system had been activated by Claire's IT team. "Get out, Robert." Claire's voice came from the direction of another black SUV that had just pulled up. Claire's personal driver stepped out and stood in front of Robert. "This car is a corporate asset. Hand over the keys right now." With trembling hands, and watched by Paige, who was starting to cry out of pure frustration, Robert handed over the car keys. Paige, seeing that Robert had truly lost everything, immediately hailed a passing cab and left without looking back, leaving Robert and Linda stranded on the scorching Manhattan sidewalk. "Claire, you cannot do this." "I am your husband," Robert screamed, chasing after Claire's SUV as it began to drive away. Claire did not look back. Inside the car, she called her attorney. "Henry, execute. Plan B. File the divorce papers this afternoon, and please send the forensic audit team to Robert's office. I want every single dollar he embezzled accounted for. If there is evidence of criminal activity, do not hesitate to contact the police." That night, when Robert and his mother arrived at the house using an Uber with an almost empty bank balance, they found their suitcases lined up outside the front gate. The estate security guard stood there with a stern face. "I am sorry, Mr. Robert. Orders from Miss Claire. Your access has been revoked. This property is solely under Miss Claire's name." Linda collapsed onto her suitcase, wailing and mourning her fate of falling into poverty in a matter of hours. Robert tried to call Paige, but his number had already been blocked. The woman clearly only loved Claire's bank balance, not Robert. Claire walked out from the front gate, handing him a brown envelope. Robert opened it, hoping it was a settlement check, but inside was a Greyhound bus ticket to rural Ohio, Linda's hometown. "That ticket is for your mother to go back to her sister's trailer park," Claire said. "And Robert, this is a police summons. The audit shows you embezzled $300,000 to fund Paige's apartment and your mother's lifestyle. You have two choices: return the money in 24 hours, or face a jail cell." "Claire, please. Paige is pregnant." Robert fell to his knees at Claire's feet. "Pregnant? With a child you funded by stealing from me?" Claire pulled her foot back in disgust. "Robert, that is your problem with that woman. I am no longer your personal ATM. Get out of here before I call the cops to drag you both away right now." That night, for the first time after years of living in luxury, Linda and Robert had to sleep on the benches of the bus terminal, waiting for the morning departure with empty stomachs. 6 months later, the stage lights at New York Fashion Week blinded the audience. A roaring standing ovation echoed as Claire walked out gracefully wearing her newest Claire's Custom Fabrics collection. She was now known not just as a textile mogul, but as an icon of independent women who had successfully broken into the global market. In another corner of the world, inside a cramped and stuffy cell, Robert sat lifelessly. He had been sentenced to 7 years in prison for corporate embezzlement. The last news he heard was that Paige was never actually pregnant. It was merely a trick to extort Robert into buying her a luxury sports car. Linda now lived in a tiny, run-down room in her Ohio hometown. working at a local laundromat just to afford daily meals. No more expensive perfume, no more designer suits. Claire stood on the balcony of her New York penthouse, looking out over the city skyline. She smiled brightly in front of her new headquarters. She had blocked all the parasites from her life, and now her world felt so expansive. It turns out, Claire whispered to the night wind, justice is not just about punishing. It is about freeing yourself from the burdens you were never supposed to carry. From Claire's story, we learn that kindness must not make us blind. Do not let other people use your hard work to destroy you. Thank you for tuning in until the very end. Do not forget to like, share, and leave your thoughts in the comments section about Claire's actions. See you in the next story.